We've been hearing from President Viktor Yanukovych after the latest rounds of talks between the government and the opposition. Now he's announced what's been achieved so far. He's said that the January 16th laws that were brought in to clamp down on demonstrations, that there would be changes to those laws. Now the opposition and government have agreed that there will be an amnesty for all people who have been detained by police during the riots that we've seen here in Kiev as well as across the rest of the country. Now, what we're going to see next week is an emergency session of Parliament here in Ukraine. During that emergency session, we're expecting to see a reshuffle of Viktor Yanukovych's government. He said he's going to change a few members of personnel around. Now, in terms of the violence that's been going on here, Viktor Yanukovych has said that he points the finger towards groups of foreigners who've been responsible for the majority of the worst violence, blaming them for coming in and provoking the situation here. The president said that he will do everything to try and bring about peace, saying that all legal means at his disposal would be used as he tries to bring some kind of calm back to Kiev and the rest of Ukraine. We're looking at about a dozen cities in the west of the country where police and rioters have clashed. It's government buildings, official buildings that have been the targets for these new riots in the west of the country. The worst affected cities, well, we're looking at the cities of Ivano-Frankovsk, where rioters had tried to take government buildings on Thursday night. We now see, after a vicious standoff, that they have succeeded in breaking their way into government buildings in that city. Elsewhere in Chernivtsi, well, what we've seen there is around 1,000 rioters facing off against around 100 riot police in one of the main government buildings there. It's been some quite horrific scenes coming from that standoff. The police there, of course, outnumbered 10-1 in that situation. And in Lvov, which was one of the first cities outside of Kiev to see violence, well, there they have occupied the government buildings. Also, major roads in the city have been barricaded, similar ways to what we've seen here in Kiev as well. The Ukrainian Prime Minister, Mr. Azarov, has said that there will be negotiations and they'll be talking to the EU and Switzerland about trying to ease tensions here in Ukraine and see if they can help to perhaps broker some kind of peace between opposition rioters and the government here. Now, the news, what's been coming out from Ukraine, has been making headlines around the world, and we've heard comments from EU and US leaders. Some of those comments has been claimed are only really succeeding in inflaming tensions here and inflaming the violence.